My champion, first things first, we're going to start from the get-go. Okay, we're going to start with which racket you should use, what I recommend, and also the strings, string pattern, and all those things. I want to talk about is the weight of the racket. What you'll see down here is I've got the 3 rackets that I do recommend. You got the Clash on the left, in the middle you got Blade, and on the far right you have the Ultra. All right, you must be thinking, why is it only Wilson? Simply because I only use Wilson. I'm sponsored by Wilson, and these are the top rackets that I would recommend for you for your style of play. And also you could go online and you can see which rackets are similar to these, so it's not that you have to use Wilson. Champs, before we get into the 3 different rackets and why I recommend them, first let's talk about the weight of the racket. I'm going to start with the ladies. All right, I'm assuming that a lot of you are older than maybe 18, 20, 30, but let's start 12 and under. Okay, if you're a girl player, 12 and under, you should not go anything heavier than 260 grams. If you go heavier than that, it's not going to work for you. If you're a strong lady heading towards 17, 18, I would highly recommend 280 grams. You want to work around there. And on the upper limit for any lady player out there, 300 is the max. All right, I really wouldn't recommend going heavier than 300. On the men's side, let's also start on 12 and younger. Depending on the strength, if you're strong and you're a 12-year-old boy, you could get away with 280 grams. As you get older and stronger, maybe 14, 15, you can hang around 280 grams. And then as you grow up and you get through puberty, you want to be at 300 grams, okay? When you go into very, very advanced and you're a big, strong player, 315 is a very great weight for you. Don't go much heavier than that. Max, I would go 320. But as a guy player, as a male player, you can never go wrong with 300 grams. Champs, and then in terms of the racket, so do your own research on the Clash, but the Clash is a very all-round racket. You can't go wrong with this racket. It's got a nice stiff feeling, and at the same time it also has a very, very nice feel. So this racket I would recommend for everyone who can't figure out what type of player they are, whether they're baseline or they like going forward. If you're not sure which type of player you are, you feel like you're an all-rounder, great racket. Going on to the Blade, very, very popular racket. If you go online, it's the most searched racket currently. For me, I like it, but it's not ideal for me because it is a bit more stiff, but very, very advanced pro level racket. So I would say if you have a very good feel on the ball, if you have a good eye on the ball, you like to come forward, you like to attack the net, you like to slice, you like your volleys, brilliant racket. And now for those of you who want top spin and power and who just wants that effortless power and spin, the Ultra is going to be your go-to racket. I love this racket simply because I like to pump forehands from the baseline. Talk about the strings quickly. Tension, not going to go too crazy on the tension, all the ins and the outs, but tension you want to hang around 55 pounds to 50 pounds, depending on the altitude you're playing. I always tell my players, because obviously I train in high altitude, if you're going to go from high altitude to low altitude for a tournament, maybe you want to go 2 pounds lower. So if you were 55, you go to 53. Ladies players, you can't go wrong with 52 pounds. 55 pounds will also work. I recommend for my girl players or ladies players 52, and for my stronger boys 55. The game has changed a lot, so if you're thinking 60 pounds, it's not going to work for you anymore. It's just way too tight. I think Roger Federer uses 48. Obviously he's very advanced, so 50 to 55 you can't go wrong. So that's the tension. In terms of strings, you know what I always tell my players, I have a little story of when I was younger. I tried to get away with this cheap string, a string that will last forever, and I got a cheap string. It was a yellow thick big string, and it really, I thought this is going to last forever. I went to go play a match, and I couldn't believe how bad it felt. I played a horrible match, and I learned my lesson that strings are very important. So I would recommend, if you want to do this properly, don't go for the cheapest string, go for the more expensive one. I would go for any type of high-end polyester string. There's many out there. You guys can contact me, I'll give you some recommendations, but a high-end polyester string, you can't go wrong with the right tension. There's ways to mix it with maybe some synthetic gut, but not important right now. Polyester, high end string, 55 tension, you're good to go.